Hey gorgeous, currently continuing my quest to film in every location in my house. So if I ever move, I'll remember what it looks like. That'll be nice. So these last 2 weeks have been a little crazy. I haven't filmed for a while because first, sister-in-law's house caught on fire. Well, my future sister-in-law's house. So everybody's fine. I'm not going to go into that because that's not my story, but that's been crazy. My bosses have been super busy. So I've been working longer shifts for the last 2 weeks. So I've just been exhausted every night when I get home. So tonight I actually made a little cocktail. This is with some purple gin that we bought, purple gin and ginger ale, because we got it for maybe making our Unity cocktail, because purple's a color, and it tastes pretty decent too. It just, when we made it as our cocktail, it kind of looked more dark blue than purple, but sorry, I had to take a sip. Oh, I have my teeth out, my trays. Another thing that happened this week, I went to my orthodontist and they shaved all of the attachments off. I still have some of the bumps, like in the back. I don't know if you can see in the video, but the front ones are all gone. Yay! They might put them back on though, which is a bummer. I say bummer a lot, I've realized. The orthodontist said I'm going to need a set of refinement trays. So they gave me 40 initial trays that I changed once a week. And my teeth look a lot better. My bite is better, but there's one crooked tooth that's still a little crooked. My bite on, which side is it? One of the sides the bite is great, and the other side it's not so great. It has like an open bite, so I'm going to need more trays to fix that. The hope is that it's only 16 more weeks. They said there's a chance it could be 16 more weeks. And if that's the case, I'd be done like right before the wedding, which would be amazing. But, I'm not going to count my chickens before they hatch. And either way, the orthodontist knows I'm getting married, and they know that I would like all of these taken off, all of the attachments taken off before my wedding. Because my engagement pictures, you could see the attachments in them, because I wasn't going to go through it for that. And I figured it would sort of showcase the point we were at that time. But for the wedding pictures, I'm fine with pretending that we're not currently in braces, if we're still in braces at that point. So that's another cool thing that's come up. And if it goes longer, it goes longer. But it'd be really nice if it lined up so that we were all done at that point. What else have we done? So Jake got his wedding shoes. That was just a quick little errand we ran. And we picked our first dance song, which is awesome. Jake's been going through, I made this huge list of songs that I would like to play. And I told him to add his own, but he hasn't. He's just been going through the ones I listed and rating them out of 10. So that's how we're sort of picking the processional and the first dance and all these other songs. So our first dance song is picked, and I actually messaged some friends of mine. We were all in a dance club in a college, and we've all choreographed dances before, so I sort of asked, hey, do you guys know of any really good couple moves that we could maybe throw in to our first dance to maybe spice it up? I've never done any partner dances, so I don't really know anything. I can't remember if my friends have either, to be honest, because it's been years. But I thought I'd ask and see if they have anything, so we're not just doing the sway the whole time. We're fine doing the sway for some of it, but it'd be cool to throw some little moves in there. Maybe even if we don't come up with anything crazy, maybe just a spin and a dip and something fun like that. But then we'll have to start practicing, which is a whole nother can of worms. When it comes to buying things, we also got, I grabbed this. This is it's going to be our officiant / guest / ring holder book. I can't remember if I've mentioned this before, but we decided to make it an all-purpose book because I started working on this, but haven't finished yet. So I basically pasted the back pages together, and we're going to cut heart-shaped holes in it and maybe make a design. That I haven't continued because I'm not sure what to do with this page yet. I just know I want heart-shaped holes, the exact size of our rings, because any middle pages we have left over, we're going to do as a guest book. And so if we just had a big hole in the middle, there'd be like a huge dent and people might bust through the paper. So we're trying to make it small to lessen the impact of that. And the very front is going to be the officiant, what he says. So we're going to paste that in there, paste the readings in there. And a friend of mine has a cry cut, so we might just put our names and the wedding date and stuff on here. So it's just going to be an all-purpose book. Because we were originally not going to do a guest book at all. So since we just had extra pages, we decided to do it all together because we didn't really want to list it just names. No one I know really writes a message. They just write their names down. And we know who we invited to the wedding, so we didn't think we needed that. But since we have more, we're going to do more. We also aren't sure if, now that we're going to put rings in a book, if we should have a ring bearer, because we don't have one currently. And so I'm debating, like, our friend who's doing the reading, maybe having her bring it up. Or the thing is, a lot of the kids I know, so I have a bunch of nephews, and so picking one nephew would be hard. And I'm having twin girls that I nannied. I'm having them be flower girls. So I thought, oh, maybe I could have some of the twin boys I nannied be, the ring bearers. But there's only one book. And I feel bad having one carry something and one not carry anything. Because I'm not a huge fan of, like, the wedding signs and, like, the other extra stuff that people carry. So up in the air still. And we might just have the officiant bring it up. But he's also a groomsman, so we didn't know if that would look weird. So that's a current toss-up, but we have that picked out. We also printed off all of our invitations. I feel like I'm talking a mile a minute. But a lot has happened these last couple weeks. So I'm going to show it. I might have to blur this out because it has identifying stuff on it, but the front I can at least show. So it's just our names in, like, this cute little font. I wasn't actually huge on this, but Jake really liked it, so I decided to put that on the front. And we compromised by the inside is the thing I really wanted. So this is, if I blur this out, I'll just explain. This is a ticket looking thing because we're getting married in a theater. And it just has, like, our names, our date, where it is, all the information that you could possibly need is just on this sheet. So if we'd only had a 1-card invite, this would have been what was on it. But since I bought these multi-page ones already, we put, like, our little front names, a map between the reception space and the ceremony space. It's like a 10-minute drive. It's not huge, but we wanted to fill up the space, and I thought it looked cute. And then we put the hotel information on the side, too, so it's not just a useless map. And on the very back, it just says, like, more website information. The website information is already here, but there's extra room. So we put that on the back in case people need a reminder or just want to look at it. The unfortunate thing is it's going to be hard for people to hang these on their fridges, but I figure no one's going to really keep them outside of writing down the date, so I'm not too concerned about it, and it was really cheap, especially because my sister-in-law, like, bless her, just made the design for us, and I just had to print it. And I almost feel bad that we just printed them through our printer, because there's some random scuff marks on it, because we just used a LaserJet printer, and it kind of mars the work that she did on it, but they still look really good, so I'm very pleased. And I'm excited to get those out. And I don't need to send these out for, like, a month or, no, what is it? Like a month and a half I don't send them out for, but they're done. So I still need to, I guess, write on the envelopes. And I found my sister actually sent me a hack of how to, like, print out people's names on the envelopes. So I might try that. We have time, so we could do it. But if I have to write by hand, that works too. Let's see. See, like, there's a lot of stuff. I'm trying to remember everything. I did have a freak out over the bachelorette party budget, but it was all resolved. My sister sort of mentioned, like, oh, some people can't do that because of the budget. And I was like, oh my gosh, should we just cancel it? Should we just not do it at all? And so I know I totally panicked and blew it out of proportion, and that was unnecessary, and we're still going ahead with it as planned. The only big issue with the bachelorette is I didn't realize that Jake's cousin is getting married that same weekend. We just received her invite in the mail yesterday or the day before, and I was like, oh crap. And we already booked the Airbnb, we already spent the money, so I'm not going to go. Jake is still deciding if he wants to go, because he doesn't have a bachelor party planned. Like, we weren't, like, planning to do it at the same time or anything like that. It was just kind of like whenever he has it, he has it. So he might go alone, and I feel terrible about it, but it's all these wedding dates, man. It's hard to keep track of them. Like how a friend of ours is getting married the weekend after our wedding. And that was our bad because they already had it booked, but we just didn't have any dates available to pick. Like, we needed to have something, and November felt like, Thanksgiving's already happening and Christmas is already happening in December. So we didn't want those, and then we didn't want to wait till 2023. So, because I really wanted 2020 or 2021, when I've been dreaming of getting married, because, 2020 is a nice round date. You can always remember when your anniversary is. And 2021, like, I was born in 1991, so I was like, oh, I can keep track based on my birthday. But now we're sort of stuck with 2022 because of reasons, and I didn't want to wait any longer. So we just kind of had to pick a date. Oh, but I guess on that, another thing Jake and I have been discussing is doing a mini moon. Because first off, we didn't want to do a honeymoon yet because we want our honeymoon to be in Japan, and I think their borders might be open, but we weren't sure. We didn't want to risk it. Like, we haven't booked anything, and it's like 4 or 5 months out. So we didn't want to deal with the hassle of that. And like I said, our friend's wedding is the week after, so we wouldn't leave the country and come back in like 5 or 6 days. So instead, we might do what Jake's parents actually, for their honeymoon, they did a trip around Lake Superior. And so Jake's thinking of doing that for our honeymoon. We haven't gotten like specific details yet. We're still working on it, but we're definitely talking about it. And it works out because where we live, we could basically go up and around. And then our friend's wedding is in a different area that's like kind of at the tip of like us on the way back. So it will work out perfectly. So we stay there and have a good time at the wedding, and then we go home and, you know, whole thing's over. And we had a nice trip, and we got to see friends at the end of it and party. And I'm excited about that. It sounds like a lot of fun. And I might give Jake more free reign because it's more nature-y stuff and he's better at planning that kind of thing. So we had a little bit of a fail when it came to our rehearsal dinner. I've talked about the rehearsal dinner a bunch. And if you've seen my past videos, you know that we booked it. And we actually went to try to go see it. We booked it sight unseen. So we're like, well, it's a park. There are pictures online. They look decent. So we decided to see it in person. Well, when we get there, it's a bigger park than we expected. And there was a lake in the middle. And so here's the parking lot. And then there's this big lake. And basically right next to the parking lot, just up a hill, was where we're having our reception. So we decided we'll walk around the lake and then we'll look at the reception space instead of doing the reception space first. But that was a bad idea because I wore shoes that I hadn't worn in a couple years. And when I wore them last was a friend's wedding, and they were broken in, like they were totally fine. But I guess they became unbroken in the time I haven't worn them, because we got a quarter of the way around the lake and the back of my feet are both blistered and bleeding. So Jake actually saw a parking lot that was also on the opposite side of this lake. So we made it to that spot. I sat on a bench, and Jake actually, he like ran back to the car, drove it back to this other parking lot that was closer to me, ran out to me with a Band-Aid, so I put it on the foot that was worse, and then he helped me get to like the car. Well, he didn't help me, but the Band-Aid definitely helped get me to the car. And then I thought we were gonna go back and look at the thing, go back to the other parking lot and look at the rehearsal spot. But Jake totally spaced, and we went to like Best Buy instead because he needed to buy some stuff, because his with the house fire, he made a new computer for his brother-in-law so that they have something to like take their mind off it a little bit. So he was buying parts and things for that. And he was so focused on that he just totally forgot to go back, which is fine, because another sort of snafu we had is this day was also Mother's Day. And so we went to his parents' house for Mother's Day and talked to them about everything that had gone on recently. And his mom actually brought up the rehearsal dinner and said like, oh, what were you guys thinking? We were thinking maybe a brewery might be nice. And I was giving her all the information like, oh yeah, we looked at breweries and like some wine spots, but they were too expensive and blah, blah, blah. Told her what we ended up doing. And just kind of like sort of defended it like, oh, well, you know, then if we save money on this, then we can put more money towards the wedding. Like, ha, funny. And she said like, oh, but like the money doesn't matter. We're paying for it. And me and Jake are just like, what? Because I hadn't heard this. His mom insisted that she'd told Jake, and I feel like Jake was probably just spacing out, because his memory's usually very good if he's listening to you, but if he's not listening, he doesn't remember. And I certainly wasn't there for the conversation, or I would have remembered. So then we had that sort of awkward moment where everyone just felt bad, because we didn't talk budget. My parents just offered right away. And also when I visited my parents this weekend, my dad gave us the remainder of the money that he promised us for the wedding, which is nice, and I'm very, very happy about it, and I'm so thankful that they helped us out. But like we didn't ask. They just said that like, oh, we gave your brothers this much money, so that's how much we're giving you. And I said, that's fair. They have a bunch of kids. The fact that they're giving me money at all is, you know, amazing. But we didn't ask his parents because we thought, well, if they want to, they'll offer, and if they don't want to, that's totally fine, and we're not going to be mad about it. But now it was a situation where his mom was a little upset, just like, you didn't think we were going to help? Like, you didn't think we would do anything for you? Groom's parents always pay for the rehearsal dinner. But we aren't really the most traditional in some senses, so we didn't just expect it. And then we feel bad because we picked this spot without any of their input, because if we'd known they were going to pay for it, we would have asked their opinion on it before we booked it. But since we kind of failed at going the day before, we decided to go the next day. Went right to the spot so that I didn't risk hurting my feet again, even though I wore better shoes that time. And I took a video of it and sent it to them and asked, like, does this look okay? And then we talked, like, oh, we're thinking of getting pizzas and we'll think it will cost this much. And they said, oh, that sounds reasonable. So it all worked out fine. It was just an awkward moment. So I guess even if you plan to pay for everything yourself, I guess still have the conversation. You might need it to avoid, like, a mildly awkward situation, which honestly wasn't that bad, but just like a little bit of guilt on either side for a little bit, and then we all collectively got over it. I also mentioned going to visit my parents this weekend, which was really fun. I ended up bringing 3 of my white dresses that I'd picked out and doing a little, like, dress try-on for... The only people home were my dad and my maid of honor, my sister, and my mom. And I was like, all right, Dad, stay in this room. I'm going to show Mom dresses, because I still want to do a first look with my dad. And I asked my mom, too, if she wanted to wait on it. She's like, no, just show me now. Like, I was like, oh, maybe I can do a first look with my mom, too. But she was like, oh, just show me. It's fine. So I paraded my dresses out. And they pretty much agreed with me when I said, like, oh, I'm thinking this for rehearsal dinner, this for the bachelorette party, and this is the wedding dress. And, maybe they agreed just because I'd already told them what I was thinking of doing. But they agreed that the one I picked looked the most bridal of all of them. I feel like my mom probably would have been happier if I had a fancier dress, but I'm happy with what I chose, and she seemed cool with it. And it was nice to have that moment since I didn't have a dress try-on. It was nice to have the, like, here, look at the cute things I bought. And I also got some good insight from Brittany on, like, hairstyles, and I asked about wedding nails. She helped me pick those out. And it sounds like the bridal shower and the bachelorette are pretty much settled. They had, like, the bridal shower invitations on the table. Like, those are... They already had them shut, so I couldn't even look at them, but they're set to be sent out, so that's all done. And it's like, oh, it's more real. So I'm very excited. It was nice to just, like, talk to my mom and sister about wedding stuff for a long time. But my poor dad, so I told him not to come in during the dress try-on, and I thought when I went out that I told him it was fine. But he mostly just stayed in, like, a separate room because he thought we were, like, too busy with dresses, and he thought he wasn't allowed. And I was like, no, I feel like I kicked him out of his own house. But he did eventually join us, and we all talked together, and it was really nice. And I also got my something borrowed. My mom is going to lend me a bracelet. I'm still, like, I don't know. It's not something I hold a lot of stock in, but it's also just, like, kind of a cute thing. And we'll see, because now I have, something new. I got something borrowed and something blue. I don't have something old. If my parents see this, I'm sorry. I'm kidding, but I just joked with Brittany, like, oh, Mom and Dad walking me up the aisle can be my something old. Because they always say that as a joke. But, they're in their 60s. They're grandparents, but I always tell them they're not old, because they're not to me. So, probably shouldn't make that joke. But I don't know what to do for something old. I have no idea. That'll be something else. I might have to borrow something old from somebody. Or Jake and I were talking about buying a wedding goblet. Something to do we're doing a cocktail ceremony for our Unity ceremony, and we're going to drink out of the same cup. And I was thinking of buying a new one, but we actually have a really cool goblet that a friend gifted us years ago. It's not super old, but it's something that we already have, so maybe that could be our something old if we can't think of anything else. But I'm not sure if it's something old, like that tradition, if you have to wear it, or if it's something that you can just have. I don't know. But another fun thing we did at my parents' house is I actually convinced them to get out. They have, like, a big tote of all their old wedding stuff. And so we looked through all of that, and it was so much fun. They had some of the very interesting pictures. The one where, I think I've seen this online, where it's a big picture of, like, the whole church where they got married, but then it's a couple shot of my parents, like, superimposed over it, like they're looking down at the church, which I think is hilarious, and I love it. And we also looked at, I'll show you. So my mom had her invites, which they're in blue, which is funny. She kept saying their wedding colors were maroon, but her bridesmaids were in lilac, so I don't know if she just forgot what maroon is. But they had, like, a couple blue elements, and one was the invite. And it was just sheet of paper. Like, this is it. This is what the invite was. This is a 1983 wedding. And you just fold it, and you've got, a cute little saying and on the inside telling you where to go and where the reception is. And I was like, oh my gosh, if I should have done this. Why wasn't I married in the 80s? When I wasn't even born yet. But I thought it was super cute. I loved it. And the other thing she got me, well, she didn't get me, but she had extra little thank you cards. Thank you for the shower gift. And she had like 50 of these. And they just, you just bend it in half and you have a card. And I was like, Mom, you're not going to use those. Could I maybe take that and use those for my shower gifts? And she said, oh yeah, like what am I going to do with them? They've just been sitting in a box collecting dust for almost 40 years. So you might as well take them. So, like I said, don't know if that counts as something old, but I was pretty stoked about it to be using something my parents used for their wedding. How neat is that? Like, even if it doesn't hit the tradition, that's just so neat. And like my dad and my mom looked so happy in these pictures, and even though my mom kept complaining about how she looked in them, but I thought she looked cute. And she made my dad wear a mustache, which my dad has not had probably since they got married. So it was very interesting to see that look. And I think the last thing I did was I tried on my mom's wedding dress, which I didn't expect to like it. So she showed me the wedding dress before, and it's an old-fashioned like 80s dress. It's got like the long lace sleeves, and like this part is kind of sheer, but then the rest is solid. And the skirt was kind of I think I have a picture of it here. But it doesn't look super great on me. It's a little big on me, and it's definitely like would have needed to be tailored or something. But the other big issue with it is even though my mom tried to store it nicely, it has random discoloration all over it. You can't really tell from a distance, but if you get close up, you can see like yellow patches all over it. And I didn't really want to get it professionally cleaned. And also it has a train, and I didn't want a train because they're heavy. Like, oh my gosh, just walking back and forth across my parents' living room felt like ages. All of y'all with like those big trains that you bustle. Oh man, I have so much respect for you. That is difficult, and I hardly had it on. I can't imagine going a whole day. Oof, that's like an extra 20 pounds it felt like. Yikes. Anyway, I think I hit everything. Jake and I have still been just sort of chatting it up, figuring things out. The one thing we're dragging our feet on is centerpieces. We really do not want to deal with those wine bottles at all. Like, we've just been leaving them in our downstairs bathroom. It's been months now. We just don't want to touch them. One of these days, maybe over Memorial Day weekend, we'll actually wash those off. But besides that, things are going incredibly well. It's funny saying that after describing how hectic this week has been. But, like, oh man, I didn't even mention, the same day that I left my parents' house, I went to, one of my bridesmaids got a new house in the last 2 weeks, so I went to see her at her new house, and then I told them about showing my mom dresses, and then I had to show her and another bridesmaid, we were celebrating the one bridesmaid's new house, but we were celebrating the other friend's birthday at that new house because she just turned, 31? 30? I don't remember how old my friends are. I'm assuming 31, since we all went to high school together, and yeah, so we were just celebrating. Then I ended up trying on my dress for them, and we were just talking about the wedding, and gosh, it's nice to get it all out to people. I've said this more than once, but it's nice. It's nice to have other people be excited. And on that note, I suppose I will end this one for today. So I hope to see you again in another video. Bye!